All right. Well, hi, everyone. This is the first Hangouts on Air for the Flutter Study Jam event for GDG Kansas City. We will get this started. Let me share my screen so you can see the slides really quick. All right. So my name is Jay Whitsitt. I am one of the organizers of GDG Kansas City. And also with us, we have Rachel Wallace. And there's also one other person on the Hangout who we can introduce after I go over the slides if you want. And anybody else that joins the Hangout, we can talk to you a little later. These are actually all the organizers. Kyle, Vince, and Roger couldn't be here tonight. But if you ever see us around or see us on Google Plus or Twitter or wherever, those are usually our profile pictures, and feel free to ask us any questions you have about anything. We're more than happy to help. You found us somehow. Most of our meetups are posted on meetup.com, as well as on all of our social channels. If you have any questions, like I said, you can feel free to reach out to us at ggkansascity.com or ggkansascity@gmail.com. And we also have a Slack. It does have a Slack bot that you can sign up if you haven't already. If you just go to slack.ggkc.org. Well, this site's a little old, but our next meetup will be a week from today on August 7th. And then we will have a meetup every week until August 21st, which is the next one is going to be an in-person meetup over lesson 2, and you can follow along, and we'll kind of start through lesson 2 and see how far we get and answer any questions you have. And then the one after that will be a Hangouts on Air, just like this one, where we will talk about lesson 2, answer any questions you have, and you can get some feedback on any of the final projects that you want to make. And we'll talk about that a little later tonight. And then the final meetup is going to be on August 21st, which will be kind of a summary of the study jam. If you have any remaining questions, you can ask them there, but we'll also be presenting final projects, like I said, that we'll talk about a little later. So there is one person on the Hangout. So at the beginning of every meetup, we always give anybody that wants to talk the ability to talk about whatever they want, either Google related, not Google related. So I don't know, Sean, if you want to say anything.
No, I'm good. If you just want to go ahead and continue with the session.
Sounds good. So first, I kind of wanted to just give an overview of Flutter, which Rachel did a great job at the last meetup on just kind of an overview of what Flutter is, what you can do with it, and why you would use it. So for anybody that didn't come to the meetup, this is kind of the same content that's covered there. So Flutter is Google's mobile SDK to make mobile apps, and that's native mobile apps. It's not web apps. It's not a web app running in a web view. It's an actual native app that does have native transitions. It uses GPU acceleration because it's actually not necessarily compiled down to the native SDK components, but they compile down to their own canvassing behind the scenes. So it uses all of the standard native acceleration that you would expect with any good app. Some of the biggest issues with these cross-platform tools are that they have fast development. They're definitely portable because you can have a single code base, but a lot of times they're poor performance because they're either done in a web view within the app, and some platforms, off iOS, will actually degrade the performance of some web apps, some web experiences done within a native app. And so they also don't really have that native look and feel because the experience can be a little slow and jerky, and a lot of the controls are also kind of, they just don't have that native look and feel. Whereas if you write in that native code, you can make a high quality app, and you do definitely have that high performance GPU accelerated experience. But then you also have to have two code bases, often written into two different languages, so you may or may not need two different teams with their own specialties in each platform. And it's also sometimes really difficult to write for the different screen sizes of Android and iOS, and kind of make one feel across all of the platforms. But Flutter does a great job of combining that native performance and quality with the speed of development, and still gives you that multi-platform compatibility. So what Flutter actually does is they rewrote the underlying architecture of how views lay on the screen. So they don't end up using those native controls. They it's written in Dart, Scia, and using a C++ engine. And then on top of that is where you write your code. So Google's taking care of all that underlying fun stuff that nobody really needs to know about. And you just write your code in Dart, and that they compile down into their own engine to display in their own canvassing system. So they have material design and different tools that you can build that they have built for you. And it's also very extensible. So you can make your own widgets, is what they call them. They get rendered in however you code them. So it makes it really easy and extensible for you to use. Another great, or a couple other great features of Flutter and the toolset that they've developed is you can actually do hot reloads. So because they have rewrote the underlying canvassing structure, they wrote in a hot reload system so that it's while you're debugging the app that you're running, either the iOS simulator, the Android simulator, or even a physical device, you can actually just click save in your IDE, and the Flutter tooling will automatically update your code within your app container, and you can interact with it without ever having to recompile your code. So I'm actually a native iOS developer, and I can tell you every single day, anytime I want to change anything, it takes 15 seconds to recompile minimum our app. It's quite a large app. And so if we had the ability to hot reload, that would save me so much time a day, especially if I have to do like a full clean and then recompile everything. So it also, like I had said earlier, gives a really great experience that you often can't get with the native or the kind of web hybrid apps. Because it's natively canvassed, you get the fast experience. If you're dragging, there's no real lag. And then also does integrate really well with the native transitions that you would expect. So Android and iOS do transition differently. And as you can see on this, in these images here, the left one is an iPhone 10 and the right one is an Android phone. So it will actually do the native transitions if you wanted to. So these are actually a few of the live apps out in the App Store. So I believe it's the Google AdWords app, was written and released in Flutter. So that's both iOS and Android. And then another kind of fun fact is that the Hamilton, the musical app, was written in Flutter, released, and was featured, I think, within like 3 months or something like that in the Google Play Store. So if you have the time, I would definitely recommend downloading the Hamilton musical app. they didn't sauce this Hangout or anything, but it does give you kind of a good view of what you could do with a Flutter app. Yeah, like I said, so there's just a couple more. Alibaba was written in Flutter, and as well as Birch Finance. So if you're wanting to see kind of just what you could do and how other people are doing it, I would definitely recommend downloading some of these. And I'll skip over some of these because these were gone over the last week. So because it compiles down to a native app still, you can actually use any of the normal IDEs. So you can use Android Studio, Xcode, VS Code. The Udacity course that we're going over uses Android Studio, but I've been using VS Code, and the tooling is also super simple to use and really straightforward, just like it is in Android Studio. There's plugins that you can get and install on your IDE to make that a lot easier. And since it's a Google product, it has great integrations with Firebase. And of course, they've written different UI components that follow the material design guidelines and are super easy to use. They do things like the inkwells, where when you touch on an item, it kind of has that water ripple out from where it was tapped and stuff like that. Like I mentioned earlier, it's super easy to make your own widgets and UI tools that can be used by your Flutter app, or you can give them to the community to use. If you go to startflutter.com, flutter.rocks, flutter.institute, and there's a ton more. That's all just kind of different communities that have sprung up around Flutter, different websites that can give you some more information apart from going to flutter.io, which is Google's official site for it. So if you're thinking of getting into Flutter but not really sure where you should start, Google kind of has a few ways and a few suggestions how you can do it. The first, you can just start a new app from scratch, which is great if it's a new idea. You can get to both iOS and Android users in records view. Another way is to prototype a new idea if you're just trying to test out an app concept or idea, but not necessarily wanting it to go to the app stores yet. That's a great way to do it. If you already have one of your, say you already have an iOS app, you can make the Android app and then bring in iOS later after maybe your Android app has kind of come up to parity of your other one. Or you can just kind of test it out and, with doing one or two screens and see how you like it. Of course, since it's a Google product, it integrates really great with Firebase, material design, and the Google Cloud Platform. There are plugins that Google's made for Firebase that makes it really easy to connect to, say, your Firebase functions or Firebase data store. Oh, here's that slide that I missed earlier. So like I had said, for anybody who missed it earlier, our next meetup is going to be on 8/7, which we'll go over lesson 2 at the Google Cyberspace in Westport. The second Hangouts on Air will be on August 14th, which is just like this one, except focused on lesson 2 and any project feedback that you may want. And then our last meetup is going to be on August 21st, and that will be just kind of a summary of the Flutter Study Jam as a whole. Answer any questions you have, and there may be a little bit of content there. And then we'll also go over we'll let anybody that wants to present any project that they created there. And that will actually be at the PuxPod Crossroads, just off Main Street. All right, well, so first I wanted to just kind of give an overview of lesson 1. There were a couple things in the Udacity course that the facilitator didn't quite get right when she was recording the video. So just kind of wanted to go over that a little bit. So your Flutter app is basically just a collection of what are called widgets. You can think of those as either UI views or just a view. if you're an iOS Android developer. So your nav bar, your buttons and text, those are all widgets. And then your screen that's showing is just a collection of widgets. You can make a stateless widget, a stateful widget. So say it has like a count, or you're trying to maybe move across the screen or change the like a game score or something like that. You can make it stateful so that it kind of saves some data behind the scenes. And then routes are how you get from screen to screen. So when you start your app, typically you give it a route, and that routes it to your initial screen. So during the Udacity course, Mary, one of the facilitators, actually defined a route as an app's page or screen. And that's actually not correct. A route is how you get to a page or screen in your app. And so anytime that they're referring to category route or converter route, a better way to say that is a category screen or converter screen. The route is actually, typically you just have a material page route, and that says how the user is going to get to the category screen or converter screen. And so if you happen to look at some of the solution code that was on GitHub, you'll see that the home property of your material app actually says category route. A better way to do that is category screen. Yep, I already talked about these. So a screen is basically just a collection of widgets and is actually a widget itself. And then the route is how you get from one screen to another. So I wanted to start by going through one of the quizzes in the lesson. So in Udacity, let me stop sharing that. So in Udacity, quiz 15, right here. And so this is kind of introducing routes, routes and screens, I should say. So in this exercise, you'll finish the implementation of the category route, which really should be category screen. So you'll create the home screen of the app, and it'll have a list view for all of the categories that are shown in the previous quiz. And actually, we will So if you go to the GitHub page at the bottom, it actually shows kind of where it starts and then where they want you to get to. So this is going to have the title at the top, and then this is going to be a list of different units. And then once you tap on one of the units, it has that inkwell look from material design, where you tap on it and it has that kind of water ripple that comes up it. So they actually give you on GitHub a folder. So everything's under course, and then this is the number of the quiz, not necessarily the number of the page. So this is the third quiz, and then there's a task and a solution. So the task is what I'm on now, and that has the starter code. And so that has some to-dos in the main.dart and category route.dart. And we will customize category.dart with some of the text and stuff like that. And we need to set the app bar to say unit converter with font size of 30, elevation of 0, and then list all of the 8 categories on the screen. So let's get started. So let me share my Android Studio here. Whoa. Make that a little bigger so you can see it. All right. Rachel, can you see my screen just to make sure?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, awesome. All right, so if you look in the main.dart file, so they have a to-do here that says, instead of pointing to exactly one category widget, our home should now point to an instance of the category route widget. So if you look here, in their main, it's returning the material app, which has a title of unit converter, so that's already done. And then it has a home that is a container. So if we, so this home right here is kind of the start of your app. So this points to the first screen that you can use. So since the first screen you want to use is called this category route, which is going to have all of those 8 categories right there. We'll just change this to category route. But this code actually doesn't know what category route is yet. So if you come up here, you see there's actually another to-do that says we probably want to import the category route widget. So import package, and then autofill right here says task 3 category route, that's our project name, and category route.dart file. And that went away. So these 2 are done. Oops. So now we can go to our category route file. Oh, I forgot my semicolon. As a Swift developer, I'm probably going to do that a couple times during this. All right. So starting at the top, to check if we need to import anything, we'll wait until we actually need that to do that. Define new constants, not really sure what we need yet, so let's skip that one. So now we need to create a list of the 8 categories using the names and colors from above. You should use a placeholder icon such as icons.cake for each category. We'll add custom icons later. Go ahead and do that. So if you look right here, there's category names, base colors. So all of these kind of match up with each other. So the length, teal, area should be orange, volume should be pink accent, mass, blue accent, and so on and so forth. So what I would recommend, actually what Google did, is to just kind of have a for loop over all of those. Makes it a whole lot easier. So first, we're going to need somewhere to put all of these category objects. We have an empty array of categories. And oh, here's our first error. So category isn't a type we can use as an argument. We actually haven't imported the category object yet. So let's get that. It is category.dart. There we go. Great, so there's a category. So now we need to iterate over these 2 arrays to make to put together all of our categories. Let's do for loop for all of the, doesn't really matter which one, so let's do names. There we go. And so we will need to add a category object when we create a category object and then add it to that categories array that we have here. So we want to pick a category, and a category, if we look in the category file, it's a string, color, and icon data, which is used to make an icon. So let's do that. So it takes, what are those called? Name, color, and icon location. So name is category names I, and color is base color is I, and then icon location. Since we don't have one yet, it says just to pick one. So let's do icons.pick. And then we need to add this object to our categories array. Categories.add. Great. So now all those categories will be added to this categories array so that we can then add them to this list view down here. Right. So now let's create a list view. So first things first, it is a container that has, actually let's look at our, if we go back to our Udacity quiz 15, it says, where was it? Oh, not there yet. Okay. So this has the solution puts an elevation of 0, so we'll add that. But the container will need a title, it'll need background color, and then we will end up adding, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's the add part. Okay, so a container, the ones that we want to use as a color to give the background color, some padding so that it doesn't quite go all the way to the edge, and then a child, which will be our actual list, our list view. So let's do color, which we'll want to, I think in the design it says that we should use colors.green 100. So we'll just do that. We need a padding. So for the padding, we'll need an edge insets. It's horizontal. And we'll just make it 8. And then needs a child. Let's just do it. So here's a container that has a green background, some edge insets, and then its child is just an empty container. Actually, let's make it text that is, now we can see it when we run it. And then we have an at bar and a body. So let's just run this to see what happens. So what you do is run, click on your emulator dropdown. You can click on the simulator if you're on a Mac and have Xcode installed, or on your emulator. And let me just share my whole screen. There we go. And then we'll run it. So it's resolving some dependencies, which takes a little bit sometimes. Maybe. There we go. All right, build the APK, installing the APK. And we've got, there we go. So it's a container with padding of 8 and an app bar. The container has a green background and says list view. So not a whole lot yet, we're getting there. So if we go to our app bar, the guide says that we need to make the app bar say unit converter with font size of 30 and an elevation of 0. Let's do that really quick. So it needs to say unit converter, but the font size needs to be 30. Video sometimes has some weird formatting there. And let's just make sure that the color is black. Right. So we also need set an elevation of 0. Need to set the background color to that colors green 100, and that should be good. How is this going now? It's an app bar that has a title. Oh, get rid of that. There we go. Now if you run it, and actually I didn't need to run it. I messed this up, that's why it didn't work. But if I just save, it will hot reload. So, why is it yelling now? Oh, I didn't put my styling style. So this needs to be there we go. So performing hot reload, and there we go. To center this title. So bar, just put right here. Center title here. Save it, and then load it. Right. So we need to, it looks like the app bar is done correctly. We need to be sure to add the categories to our list view. So instead of doing this text here, we want to make this a list view. And we will, so for a list view, there is a builder function, and you give it a function. So I'm not for sure that didn't auto-populate. But if you just give it the categories, so this takes a context, which is just kind of a way to get the, if you're familiar with Android, it's, you probably understand context, but it has things like the theme and anything that you kind of want to keep. And then it gives an index, which we can look up to get the category. So, kind of save. Why didn't that work? Oh, so if you get stumped, like I just did, you can look at the solution, which is also on GitHub, just under a different folder. So if I need an item count, is categories.link. Here we go. So for a list view, you need to build the item, which that will then return an array of widgets. And you also need to give a count of the number of widgets that exist in that array. All right, so we have our list that's scrollable. And in this category.dart, this category is another widget, and that has all the view information that you did on page 13, I think it was. There was a quiz, and that has the inkwell, which does the tap and the ripple out. And as you can see, it prints out how it was tapped there, has padding around it, and then has that common of it. So super easy. All right. So let me go back to there we go. All right. So it doesn't look like anybody else joined yet, but Rachel, I don't know if you had anything else to add there.
No, I think you just about covered everything.
Okay. Well, in that case, the last thing I wanted to mention was at the last meetup and earlier in this one, I mentioned that we were going to have some final projects. So that is basically going to be if you have an idea that you want to make a Flutter app about or on, you can go ahead and start making that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Everybody's learning along with you, so there's not really any guidelines that we have. The one thing that we do try to do with any projects is try to make it as universal as possible. So you can definitely do like a helper app for the company you work for, or something that you can just use around your house. But the best apps that we've seen on any program that we've ever done is things that other people can use that you feel are missing, either in the Play Store or in your life or whatever. Yeah, and that's really the only stipulation, or the only guideline that we give. So if you have any questions, any ideas, reach out, talk to us on Slack or talk to anybody else on our Slack. You can go to slack.gggkc.org to sign up, or if you are already signed up and you can log in, it's ggkansascity.slack.com is our Slack domain. All right, well, without any further ado, let me bring up the slides one more time. So did just want to say again that we have lesson 2 coming up on August 7th, a week from today, at the Google Hyperspace, which was the same place that we hold most of our meetups and also where we held lesson 1. 2 weeks from today, on August 14th, we have exactly what we did today, except on lesson 2, and also any feedback that you want on your final projects. And then 3 weeks from today, on August 21st, we have the kind of a summary of the study jam, as well as anybody who wants to present their final project, they can do so, and that'll be at the FlexPod Crossroads. So thanks, everyone, and we will see you next week. Bye.
All right, thanks.